Welcome to the No Dunks podcast presented by FanDuel. It's Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. I'm Jay Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Tass Millis.
Podcast listeners, this is for you and Ben.
Next to him, it's my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby. Ayo. And over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is, and we have a returning champion. He's a national NBA writer and co-host of the Greatest of All Talk pod. He's also the author of Bubble Ball, and he just launched his very own Substack. I'm attracted to his work like a magnet to a fridge. It's Ben Golliver. What's up, Ben?
Ben, which I really appreciated. But I have a bone to pick, Skeets.
Yep.
Because you were making it sound like I just go willy-nilly buying every single magnet, like I have no self-control when I go to these national park stores. And look, I'll be honest, I have hundreds and hundreds of magnets, so you're not lying. Mm-hmm. But there's a method to my madness. I would be glad to explain it to you and clear my good name so people don't think I'm just, nuts walking in the store and just cleaning them out every single time like it's supermarket sweep. It's not supermarket sweeps, kids.
Well, okay. Well, talk me through it then. What's the decision-making behind all these magnets?
Well, look, every destination you go to, you want the gaudiest one. It doesn't have to be the biggest one, but it has to be the most distinctive, the most colorful, the most unique. So you start with that one, right? So if you're at Arches National Park, you're getting the one that's just bright orange and it's going to look awesome. Mm-hmm. But my secondary rule is if I see a particular animal that's unique to that area or it's not super easy to find just in your everyday life, I'm going to look for a magnet that specifically has that animal as well. Now, if there happens to be a special waterfall and another side note of interest at that particular park, well, I want to remember that too. So do I come home with 3, 4, 5 sometimes if it's a really good wildlife trip? Maybe so, but it's not like I'm taking 30 down. Okay.
Look, I'm a one magnet for one place type of household, but I respect what you do with each attraction at said place.
I want to hear that if you approve of this nickname, the magnet magnate. Are you cool with that? I mean, great alliteration. You seem to have some influence.
It makes me sound like an entrepreneur. I love it. Look, I'll take any nickname that has been given to me because on my podcast, I have to give myself nicknames like the Oracle from Oregon. And, sometimes, as you guys know, the best nicknames are ones you earn, not give yourself. So I'll take whatever you've got.
You've earned that one, man.
And before we move off the magnet talk here, what do you do with all of them? Like, do you just store them or what do you do?
Yeah, no, because you were speculating about that yesterday, too. Really glad to clear that up for you guys. the most pressing news of the day in the NBA. So here's the funny fact. I have one magnet actually on my refrigerator, and it's to commemorate Michigan football's national championship.
Okay,
so that's the only one that makes the refrigerator go blue. Now, I have a wall that has sort of like a magnetized backdrop in one of the hallways of my house. It's not super prominent, but I could put about 50, 60 of my most recent finds on there, and you could rotate those out. The rest of them, I'll be honest, and I'm not a hoarder, but the rest of them are just being stored very carefully in huge Tupperware containers in my garage. The dream one day is to be cool enough to have a basement, right?
Right.
Maybe I could buy Trey's old house in Illinois. I don't know if that's still on the market. But if I ever get myself a basement or a real garage, I will just display all of them and it will blow everyone's mind. And we're talking hundreds, maybe close to 1,000. But for now, it's just the memories, man. They're not being displayed.
That's incredible, man. Yeah, I do want you to have, like a man cave or obviously in the garage. I'd like to picture you having 8 beer fridges. Just for your magnets, though. I don't even think you're a heavy drinker, but I just want you to have a bunch of fridges so you can put them up. Yeah.
It sounds like a great idea. I mean, let's just skip the fridge part. Let's just have a giant wall of magnets.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm the magnet magnate. So I think that's what it's going to take because honestly, you need a lot of square footage. I used to have little magnet boards in my living room, probably 8 to 10 of them. That could each hold maybe 20 magnets, and it wasn't nearly sufficient. And it gets frustrating because you're like, oh, this amazing trip gets overlooked at the expense. You have to make choices. You don't want to make choices. They're like children. You want to honor all of them. So
I love it.
One day I'll get the basement.
Okay, since we're talking about layouts of houses, I see a treadmill behind you. If you're watching on YouTube here, it's the far bottom left corner. Is that a walking treadmill? Because I've always wondered if that's really fun. You know, if that's a thing, I should.
I mean, you know, probably about 4 times a year, it dips below 72 and sunny here in Los Angeles. And so, you know, I don't want to brave the elements. I'm sorry to anyone who's been dealing with tough snowstorms back east. But yeah, you know, you watch some games, get on the walking treadmill.
Smart.
Is it fun? Absolutely not. But, you know, I'm not like a juice head gym guy like you, Taz. I just try to burn a few calories so I don't, you know, get too fat during the season.
Well, you're looking great, man.
That's what they call me at the gym.
So,
jumping juice head, man.
You had some big news recently in your life, Ben. You were, I guess you were there 7 years at the Washington Post, and they suddenly decide to shut down their sports department. You did tweet your final score, which I enjoyed. 1,500 plus stories, 50 plus million page views, 2 Olympics, 1 bubble, 7 NBA finals, 1 book, and countless incredible colleagues and editors. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Did you have a favorite of your 1,500 plus stories, or maybe even just one of the events that you went to and got to cover working at the Post?
I mean, I think the big highlights would be people know me for a Caitlin Clark profile I did during her junior year at Iowa. It was just perfectly timed because it was right before the huge tournament run where, you know, she has the controversy with Angel Reese at the end of it. And so I would say for me as a reporting highlight, going to the middle of Iowa, which, you know, just never been to Iowa City before. I'm going to like the Herbert Hoover Presidential Museum on the way there. Yes, I did buy a magnet. Big time highlight.
I bought 29 magnets from there.
Oh, the Hoover, you sucked them up, dude.
Yeah, exactly right. Well done. So I would say that was a big time highlight just because you felt like you were on a huge story a little bit before everybody else. The gold medal game and even the semifinal for the Paris Olympics with Steph Curry just going bonkers. I mean, he saves the U.S. basketball dynasty twice. I could hear the Canadians kind of roll their eyes. Thanks, guys.
No, it was amazing. It was amazing.
No, those were big games, super high stress games, incredible crowds, and just the kind of things that you're like, well, it's kind of all downhill from here. But to me, it's always the high level games that gets me the most excited. I was at every NBA final since I started with the Post, and including the bubble, which of course was a crazy experience, 93 days ending with the Lakers championship. So I would say those were some of the best moments for sure.
And how much of a shock was this with the Washington Post sports department shutting down?
Well, it was weird. You know, there's no question about it. I always said, like, they pretty much gave us free reign, whatever we wanted to do for 6+ years. And so in a lot of senses, it was a dream job. I don't come away from this like super bitter or angry because they literally were just like, oh, you want to go to Iowa to write about Caitlin Clark? Oh, you want to write about Cooper Flagg? Oh, you know, whatever pet story I might have had. Let's follow Wemby around for the first 2 weeks of his NBA career and see how that goes. Like, it was always just yes. And then in true sports fashion, though, they just decided to do a tear down rebuild right in the middle of the season. And I didn't make it to the trade deadline, guys, unfortunately. And, you know, it was, blindsiding for sure. But there was some rumors and trickles, you know, in the months and really dating back to the 2024 election. I don't know if people would be super surprised to hear that. So it was disappointing and definitely a jolt. But I felt like I did the best work of my career at the Post. Met so many incredible editors and got to read just unbelievable writers. We really did have a dream team that was disassembled, unfortunately. So we'll see where everybody kind of eventually lands and how it all shakes out. And it's unsettling kind of in the interim, right, as you're trying to figure out what the next moves are. But it's a chapter I'm going to look back very fondly on. And it's going to be, you know, we always hear those stories, oh, like Sports Illustrated in the 90s or the 80s. It was so crazy. Like, that's kind of how I felt. Just a little sliver of that with the Post here the last 7 years.
Well, you're the hottest free agent name this summer, no doubt. Where will Ben Golliver land? But in the meantime, you got the Substack going. Obviously, have the podcast as well.
Keep telling everybody that, Skeets. You're my street team. Okay?
I can be your agent.
You come across. Keep saying that. That means a lot, and it could help. No, the Substack's been crazy, though. I think you guys know I've got the podcast community. A lot of what we've tried to do with the Greatest of All Talk has been modeled off what you guys have done for, you know, almost 20 years, I think, or more than 20 years now. You know, just building the community, and they've really stepped up and helped supported the Substack. And I was blown away the opening week when I was number 2 on all the new charts for every new writer, any category. So that said, the power of our podcast community for sure, how much people love basketball, which is always great to see at a time when a lot of people like talking down on basketball. So I was off to a good start there and feeling good about it. Writing all sorts of crazy stuff too, by the way. National parks. We're getting into like stories behind the stories of some of my reporting journeys over the years. Of course, I had to lead off with Lego because everybody knows me as the Lego guy. So it's a potpourri. It's not just NBA stuff. And so far, people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that link is in our show notes. So make sure you subscribe to Ben Golliver's new Substack. Well, let's talk some hoops here. We've done enough preamble there, enough magnet talk. We had an awesome game last night, Ben. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Wembanyama, 21 points, 17 boards, 6 blocks. And Devin Vassell was on fire. He had 28 as the Spurs beat the Pistons 114-103 in a potential maybe NBA Finals preview. The Spurs have won a season-high 9 games in a row. Ben, this matchup had some intensity of a playoff game. It was a lot of fun. I like that it was on like a night in the NBA where there wasn't a lot of games on. This was the marquee game. So if you were an NBA fan, you were probably watching it. What were your big takeaways from the Spurs beating the Pistons last night?
Well, it was also cool that such a great game was on America's like 19th largest streaming network. I think that was a real cool twist just to surprise everybody. I say that after going to Lakers Celtics on Sunday where NBC, just had the entire farm there covering it. Not quite as high level of a game, I will say, in Los Angeles. So here's how I look at these kind of final previews games. It's just a top-down version. I always look at the 4 units, right? Offense, defense for both teams. And we tend as analysts or just like the public at large, we always focus on the best units, right? So I'm looking at San Antonio, I'm looking at Detroit, and I'm saying they're going to have elite defenses, right? Mm-hmm. That's really what's going to drive the discussion. If they were to meet in the finals, it would be pitted as like this defensive battle. But what I tend to do is look for what I think is the weakest unit. And in this case, I would have said the Pistons offense was the weakest of those 4 units. And I think a lot of times, especially in the playoffs, that weakest unit is what winds up deciding the series. And I think if these two teams were to meet in the finals, I don't think the Pistons have enough offense to keep up. Obviously Cade struggled, but from an efficiency standpoint, but that's going to happen when the Spurs have all these guards who are incredible defenders who are going to harass him. And they've got Wemby patrolling the paint like crazy. Didn't that game turn in the third quarter with that Spurs just defensive push? Wemby's blocking shots like crazy. Everything's just going nuts. And Detroit's looking around saying, Tobias Harris, Duncan Robinson, you guys are not built for this. I'm sorry, it's not going to be enough. And so it makes me wonder, should Detroit have considered doing something at the deadlines, loading up a little bit, getting another weapon? Because I think they have enough offense to get through the East. I don't think they have enough offense to win a championship. And if you guys want to just, like go gaga over Wemby for the next 20 minutes, I'm glad to do that too. But I thought the hardcore basketball analysis takeaway was Detroit is really awesome. They've had a dream season. They don't have enough juice on offense.
Yeah, 7 made threes for the Pistons last night. Devin Vassell and Julian Champagnie combined hit 12 together. I think Vassell hit 7 himself. And you're exactly right, Ben. It was kind of like a shock to the system, it felt like to me, for the Pistons, trying to figure out how to attack Wemby while also having to deal with, in particular, Cade being defended by Stephon Castle. Castle was all over him, man, like getting over screens, pressuring the ball 94 feet. They threw everything at Detroit. Cade couldn't really crack the code. They couldn't hit from the outside. And you look around, and the only move they did make at the deadline was getting Kevin Huerter. Guy didn't even play last night. Not like they really are missing out on anything. Jaden Ivey is feeling like he might retire after the season with the Bulls. But it felt like to me, watching it last night, it's like, ooh, this does make you a little concerned for the high-end outcomes for the Pistons, because where do they get offense if Cade's not able to be an efficient player? It was basically like, Durant, can you grab an offensive rebound and get it back up before Wemby shuts it down? But, they talked a lot after the game about looking at the tape and figuring out how to attack San Antonio. They play again pretty quickly here, so that'll be a huge game to me, once again, to see how they adjust and figure out any way to have an offense that makes sense, because last night it was pretty ugly, especially in that second half.
They needed some contributions from a lot of guys. That's the thing with the Pistons. You don't have a number 2 guy in general. Jalen Durant did his thing in this one, but because it is so sparse, the other guys are just going to have to all contribute a shot here or there. And you saw, even though Ron Holland was awesome in this game playing his defense, he goes 0 from 3. Javonte Green also 0 from 3. Asar Thompson, we've all wondered this coming into the season, could he be the guy? And he did have a few shots in this game, but honestly, his energy level wasn't high, so they yanked him after 18 minutes.
Yeah, he got benched.
Yeah, which has happened with JB Bickerstaff before. I wonder if he yawned. Honestly, it looked like there was a yawn in there that he covered up with a towel real quickly. Yeah, what up with that? But honestly, it also showed on the floor. He was standing out behind the three-point line and just not moving and not crashing. Again, he makes a few shots, but somebody needed to make shots. The Duncan Robinson, who has been there in place of the guy, Malik Beasley, who made all those 3-point shots. You know, he made a few in this one, but literally open shot after open shot. So 3 for 11 for 3 from him. They just missed too many shots. Karis LeVert was just stepping on the sideline. That guy had 4 turnovers. A couple of them were literally stepping on the sideline. So was it just the big lights for this supporting Pistons team at home and just not ready? But also, yeah, the Wemby factor was a big, as you said in the third quarter, Ben, when the Wemby factor picked up, the Pistons literally were rushing shots and missing shots and were unable to counter the Wemby. And that's what it kind of came down to.
Yeah, talk about Wemby, Ben, for sure, because, man, this guy, like, he was getting pushed around. He was getting bullied. And this was the game plan, of course, and I assume it's going to be the game plan for a lot of teams, but he weathered the storm and then started to realize, well, I'll just draw all the extra defenders as well and start setting up other guys, in addition to, like, shutting down the paint with every block shot.
Yeah, I start with the defense because I really felt like the defense, there was a lot of swings where the broadcast kept being like 5-point swing, 6-point swing, because Wemby would erase something on one end. They would go straight down and score the other end. And that's winning basketball. That's potentially championship basketball if you're a Spurs fan. So you get super excited about that. On the Asar Thompson point, we've all heard about their incredible development story. Like growing up, they had the checklist of all the things that they wanted to do to kind of make it to the NBA and get a shoe deal and all this stuff. How did nobody make a jumper on the checklist? It's the single most important part of modern basketball, and neither one of them can shoot, and neither one of them are going to be able to really hold up in big-time playoff games if they can't shoot. That's especially true against San Antonio because Wemby already screws up every team's spacing just by standing on the court, right? Your spacing is screwed up. You really cannot play 2 non-shooters at the same time against San Antonio and get away with it because they will just crunch the court on you. Your offensive efficiency will go down so far. And so you're almost obligated to put whatever shooters you have on the court just to kind of open things up so you can even breathe on offense. And then typically in the NBA, the shooters are the guys who can't play defense, right? So you go down the other way, and now all of a sudden it's a field day for everybody on San Antonio. What I love about how the Spurs have developed this thing is that even though Wemby is an extraordinary offensive talent as well, I mean, he's an A+ defensive player, A to A+ offensive player already at this stage of his career, he has gotten away from feeling like he has to do everything, which was part of the problem earlier in his career, because they've got the other guards, because they have really good spacing for themselves on offense, and because they trust the pass. You know, and it was a big question that I had when they went to get Fox. Was it going to be too much pound, pound, pound? Castle is not the world's most traditional point guard, so sometimes you worry, is he going to be able to keep the flow moving? But they have just bought in together with passing the basketball. Wemby's been a big part of it. And then, man, when he can finish plays after a couple of passes at the rim, or he can step out and shoot the 3-pointer, or he can hit a mid-ranger if the entire thing breaks down. There's so many different ways Wemby can beat you as an offensive player. It's kind of like good luck. And I want to tip my hat to Jalen Durant. I thought not only did he fight hard, you know, as the Pistons always do, you know, looking for a little scrap here and there. I mean, he was pushing back and giving some offense in the second half too, but it just doesn't matter. You know, the Wemby was too much for them, and the Wemby effect was too much for them. This San Antonio team means business. To me, this is not a mirage at all. I think we have to start thinking about they could go from the lottery to the finals. We basically never see that in the NBA. Right. It's definitely possible for these guys.
And what do you think about Wemby's chances at MVP here, too, if he can obviously hit the games played quota? You think that's a realistic opportunity?
Well, like I said, I call myself the Oracle from Oregon. That was my preseason pick. So I've got my fingers crossed he can stay healthy because it would be a pretty wild one. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. You know, I think there's going to be the opportunity as we get into the dregs of the season. Maybe you're resting him here and there. You know, what exactly is the motivation? But I hope he continues to gun for it. And he showed us at All-Star Weekend, like, he cares about the games. He cares about his reputation. He cares about the awards that he didn't win last year. I mean, he was robbed of a Defensive Player of the Year last year because he got the blood clot. And so I hope he sprints to the finish line and makes himself a real factor. But I always do the top 100 rankings, you know, every single year before the season. going into next year, Wemby can't be below 3. He's 1, 2, or 3. And so then the question becomes, all right, well, him or Shea, him or Joker. Like, to me, that's where the conversation starts. And that's crazy for a guy who's only in his 3rd season right now.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's almost like a conundrum, I feel like, with Wemby and the Spurs having to play the Pistons again. On one hand, awesome, like, let's run it back. But if I'm the Spurs, I'm maybe like, yeah, let's not play Wemby again in a very physical, sort of obviously like playoff intensity game. Just any concern of him getting injured. How many times did he fall over again last night or get pushed over? Yeah. He took like a sort of an elbow to the back. I thought that was a little bit of a cheap shot. I think, was that Javonte Green or Thompson?
A couple times.
Anyway,
Thompson
point is,
hit him. Cade hit him. Yeah, Cade was playing a little extra physical. I thought they totally brought it to him. And Wemby's missed 14 games this season. So it's pretty close to like award chopping up there. But I mean, he's clearly the best defensive player in the league. He was like, he needs like a halo block or like a force field block where like you saw Duncan Robinson, like, good luck. Why would he ever try and shoot in the lane? Cade was passing up shots in the lane, took him completely out of his rhythm, went 1 for 15 in the second half. And Wemby didn't even have like an efficient offensive night at all, but still just completely dominated by doing like traditional big man dirty work Jared Allen kind of play. But he's 7'5". He's got Cade calling him an 8-footer afterwards. Ben, do you have any concern that this is how teams are going to play Wemby? They're going to try and rough him up. Once they get into the playoffs, 7 games of this guy falling down every 3 minutes.
Right.
Well, I think you want to rough him up, and you also want to, go after the ball when it's in his hands. You want to double. You want to try to force turnovers. You want to try to speed him up. He's so good at speeding up other teams on the when he's playing defense, but he can get sped up offensively. We saw that a little bit earlier in the season when teams were, really, trapping him hard when Fox was out, and he struggled to handle that pressure. I think really for your guys' standpoint, it just creates an incredible opportunity, though. It's like he needs a bodyguard. And who is that bodyguard? It seemed like maybe Sohan would have been that guy, but it just didn't materialize there in San Antonio. I look around at the team. He's got a lot of running mates, but does he truly have the bodyguard, like the guy who's willing to take the 10-game suspension, if anybody messes with Wemby? Because they need Charles Oakley, don't they? I mean, they need a Charles Oakley on this team so badly. And whoever that guy is will be the second most popular Spur. I promise you. They're going to sell crazy jerseys. So Memo and O'Brien, right? Go find your Charles Oakley. It will be incredible. We will all love it.
We don't think it can be big body Keldon Johnson.
He stepped to Cade, and then Durant, went back at Keldon Johnson. I think he's the guy right now, at least. And, he's big. He's not huge, though.
I was going to say, does the hair make him shorter? I think he's smaller. I don't know. He shaved his head, and all of a sudden, he's not as imposing.
Yeah, we were just around him in Austin. We were at the Casa de Spurs, and he was doing a fireside chat the night before, and we were in the same room, and he got up and he walked by Trey Kirby, and we all were like, oh yeah, he's actually maybe a little bigger than we thought. We were trying to determine his height and all that. Doesn't look as wide when you're just by him in a place. But
that's because he's usually next to Wemby, so he looks pretty wide. But I was impressed. He seems like a guy that actually underestimates his height. Like, he's listed at 6'5". I think he could easily be 6'6" or 6'7".
That's what we were saying. That's what we were saying, for sure.
Interesting. All right, you're blowing my mind. All right, Keldon Johnson, it's your job.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like maybe it's because he's standing next to Wemby is why he looks short. And so maybe any bodyguard is going to look short next to Wemby. Maybe it has to be somebody who's like Jan Hansen or something like that. You got to get somebody who can, look at Wemby almost eye to eye to be the one who gets his back. But I feel like Keldon Johnson is like a real player. Part of what I'm looking for here is like just, mashing the glass, rebounding, and that, and hard fouls. That's all I want from the bodyguard.
Yeah, but Wemby's too modern for that. I think Wemby will say, no chance. I need a bodyguard. I'm going ISO. It's modern basketball. We're all taking care of our own body, especially it's modern day basketball that, yes, there's some physical play, but there's not a ton of physical play. And honestly, it kind of did in the Pistons yesterday a little bit. First possession, Cade was guarding Vassell, but here comes Vassell on a pick. Wemby's flying by, so I'm going to go tag Wemby. Vassell wide open, splash. And that got him going because he was incredible. But yeah, the guys you mentioned and Keldon Johnson, they all contributed to this team. So that was very impressive. I do wonder, speaking of the modern day NBA and how we have this 65-game rule, Ben, do you think they do away with that rule even as early as next season?
Well, what I want to do is change the focus from the small things like, is 65 the right number, and put it down to 60. Let's take a step back and just be honest, the NBA has an absolute injury crisis. You know, if you look at all the number of stars who have been injured this season, the percentage of games they've missed, it's absolutely nuts. I ran an analysis back in like November, and only the top 30 players, the highest paid players combined, were on track to cost their teams, I think it was like $500 million in salary for games they don't play. So it's $500 million just being wasted on 30 guys because they're missing so much time due to injuries. If you flash back 3 or 4 years ago, the question was, oh, it's just load management. You know, these guys don't want to play. Now what we're seeing is the style of play in the NBA, it's not manageable. They can't handle these loads. It's too much. Bodies are breaking down, calf strains, Achilles. I mean, we're seeing all sorts of different muscle issues. And even guys who were basically indestructible, Joker, Shea, Giannis earlier in his career, are having injuries now that are sidelining them for real amounts of time during the season. And so rather than get caught up in the minutia of an MVP debate about 60 versus 65, or should we get rid of the rule or whatever, let's take a step back and figure out what the heck is going on. And are there changes to the game that can protect these guys? Has it gotten too fast, right? You know, the scores are incredible. Everybody gets excited. You know, somebody hits 150 points. It's like, you know, wow, this is crazy. But, you know, are the bodies able to hold up to that strain of getting up and down and playing that fast? I don't think they are. And so I don't know. I think to me, it's something the NBA needs to really look at is style of play modifications so that guys can be healthy enough to be out there and play, because guys like Joker and Shea are not ducking just to duck. They want to be out there, and they're suffering real injuries, and everybody is. And I don't want us to get numb to that.
Isn't the only answer fewer games where they don't have to play 3 or 4 times a week versus twice a week? And as you said, because it's costing teams so much money, maybe you can go to the table with that and say, hey, your guys will be playing more, and you don't have to have 82 games sold for each and every franchise.
Well, I feel like there would be a financial tipping point at some point. I'm not sure we're there yet. I mean, the NBA is making so many billions. I guess they have $500 million to write off as an expense here in terms of the injured stars, right? But if it continues to worsen, and all the trends are saying injuries are up, you know, over the last 5 to 6 years compared to where they were previously, the other concern that I have, and this is a bigger picture one, a lot of these star players who are getting drafted really high are no longer developing into their primes in their late 20s. They're sort of hitting a wall with recurring injuries in their mid 20s. That makes me nervous because we want a lot of faces of the NBA. We want a lot of guys vying for that title, right? But you're seeing big time, you know, prospects, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball with the recurring injuries, Trae Young in their mid 20s. And I mean, even Luka, you could say, is physically not really where I would have expected, you know, at this stage of his career, even though he's having a phenomenal, you know, top 5, top 6 MVP type season. You know, he doesn't move like somebody who's his age, like you would expect. Right. And so I think the wear and tear stuff, the amount of games, how many games they play before they get into the NBA, and just the rigorous style of play is really chewing through some of these guys. And it's potentially going to be shortening careers, or at least shortening primes. And, you know, that makes me nervous as somebody who loves basketball because, you know, just like everybody else, the draft's coming up, everyone's tanking. Like, I'm getting excited for this next crop of guys. Then you look at Darren Peterson, and it seems like he's already load managing in college, right? And it's like, what's going on here? So hopefully there's some people who are smarter than me and more powerful than me who are, you know, kind of steering the game in a slightly better direction here so we can kind of stop this trend.
To go back to the game last night there, Spurs-Pistons, I know we brought him up a couple times, but Castle, that job that he did on Cade Cunningham. And yes, Wemby's roaming, and he's changing shots, and he gets in the back of your mind, and that's a big part of why Cade only went, missed 21 of his 26 shots. But Castle, Ben, was all over this guy. And Cade Cunningham got into foul trouble too. Maybe that played a part. But, you know, Wemby, yes, defensive player of the year. If he hits, obviously, games played, he's going to win it every freaking year. Is Castle one of the best point defenders already in this league at his young age? Because with the effort he gives, the balance he plays with, the intelligence I think he plays with not reaching and stuff like that. What do you think of Castle's not only game last night, but his season, his progression here?
I remember traveling down to the islands, and sometimes they do like the crab fights, like they put the circle, you know, on the sand, and it's like the crabs going at it. It's like you put Castle and Case and Wallace and the Thunder guards and the Spur guards in that circle, and it's like who's coming out alive, right? I mean, it's crazy how hard those guys play. Well, here's a good point on Castle though. You always hear basketball guys. It's like cliche. It's like you have to make people work on the other end, right? So like you could be this like great defensive player, but like if you're only a defensive guy, like take Chris Dunn, it's like you kind of get the night off on the other end,
right.
If Chris Dunn's out there. Castle is so relentless with the basketball as well when he has it. So it's like whatever his matchup is, you're feeling him defensively and you're exhausted and you're like Cade. You just want to shove him to the court. Get out of my space.
Yes.
I'm sick of you, right? But then on the other end, somebody is responsible for trying to keep Castle out of the paint and away from the rim. And he is coming downhill like a young Russell Westbrook whenever he gets the opportunity, right? So he makes you feel it both ways. And I think that's why he's become such a valuable player. He's not perfect. Like the shot isn't necessarily where you want it. Sometimes the vision stuff, leaves a little bit to be desired. But just that jolt of electricity that just goes through him 48 minutes a game is such a game-changing impact for San Antonio.
Yeah, and he had one of those, you already alluded to it because they said it on the broadcast, one of those 5-point swings, if you want to call it. I think it was in the third quarter there. Cade was tired of his shit, started bodying, threw him a nice big elbow to try and dislodge Castle under the rim. He goes up with it. Castle still blocked it, somehow saved it. They went the other way, and I think it resulted in a corner three. So big window there. I just love how poised this guy is. He's sort of, you're right, Ben. He's going to be one of these guys, if he's not already, where like the star player on the other team or guard player on the other team is like, oh, God damn it. Like not Castle here tonight. This is going to be like 40 minutes of hell on both ends. And then Castle is paired with Wemby, so it allows him to be super aggressive out there when you got that guy roaming behind you and even attacking, because he's always like, well, worst case scenario, I'll just chuck it up by the rim and that guy will go slam it home on the alley-oop. Like these two, they're going to be they're a problem already. Like you said, you have them as a potential championship contender this year, let alone moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we talk about fit on the offensive end pretty much exclusively. Like, how can you play and pick and roll with Victor Wembanyama? Yeah. And actually is a nice fit. Like, Castle's crossover is sick right now. Yeah. Like, he's so quick getting to it. Russell Westbrook is a good comparison because it's all speed and getting downhill, which opens everything up, but Wemby plays outside. But the fit on the defensive end is perfect as well. The way he's able to pressure high up on the ball, move his feet with basically whoever. Now, he's quicker than Cade is for sure, but he's also strong enough to take Cade's bumps, which is huge. And then when you know that a guy's taking away the entire lane inside, you're able to play with some risk out there. So I don't know. I thought maybe he won a Rookie of the Year last year because it was kind of a down draft, but this guy looks like a multi-time All-Star, and part of it is playing with Wemby, but guess what? Smart move by the Spurs, drafting him to play with Wemby. He's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to some big picture questions here for you, Ben. Talked to Pistons here with that game last night. Is there a team you have the most faith in the Eastern Conference? Maybe it's the Pistons still, or is there another team in terms of like ranking the best of the best there that you think could go all the way?
I'm not sure faith is the word I would use for anybody in the Eastern Conference. I am a Western Conference elitist. Coming off that Boston game in LA, though, I'll tell you what, those guys play hard. Those guys play together. Trey's point on defensive fit not getting talked about is excellent. Boston has some great defensive pieces, some question marks coming into the season, but man, do they play together defensively. And then, Peyton Pritchard just can't miss, whatever role's available for him, he's going to step in. Derek White, I thought he should have been an all-star. I thought he was a snub based on his impact, both ends of the court. And the fact that their track record in the playoffs is just phenomenal. They made the playoffs like 17 of the last 18 seasons, all these deep Eastern Conference Finals runs. I wonder if in the back of our minds, we should just be thinking like, Tatum's been out, but like, is this still just their conference, right? Do they have enough experience in those moments, enough collective basketball IQ, enough organizational stability, the right culture, the right poise in big moments, the right home court advantage at TD Garden? Like, I don't know. Boston's probably the team that I would want to play the least of all these teams in a playoff series, especially if they're getting Tatum back. So I don't know if that qualifies as faith necessarily, because that's a big if in terms of when does he come back? What does he look like? But I'll tell you what, his body language during that Lakers game, and granted, they're beating the Lakers by 20 on Pat Riley statue night, so they're feeling pretty good there, the Celtics are. But Tatum looked real happy, very engaged, very excited. I mean, he looked not like a guy who was just trying to buy time and get through a long rebuild or a long rehab, I should say. He looked like a guy who was gearing up.
Which team do you think improved the most at the NBA trade deadline? Is it another team in the Eastern Conference in the Cavaliers, or is another squad I'm overlooking? Who do you think?
Oh, you're a pro. You know how to tee me up. Tell me the answer. Yeah, no, it was Cleveland. I mean, look, they were kind of stuck. Garland and Mobley, to me, that was their young core, and those guys have not developed in the way that I thought they would, right? You make the Mitchell trade, and you're really kind of hitting fast forward. If you're Cleveland, you're feeling like everything's going to come together. You have this dream season last year, but those two guys have just not gotten better enough, right? Mobley's good, but he's not great. Garland was good, but he was a liability in a lot of situations, including last year's playoffs. I thought it was a savvy trade because you don't want to, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. I think this exact same thing would have happened if they tried to run an injured Garland into the playoffs this year. They would have just probably gone down in round 2, and everybody would have been, screaming, what's going on? What's wrong with us? What happened to our amazing 60-plus win season, right? Harden, not a perfect option, but man, he's still got some good basketball in him. There's a chance they could reach the finals. The big takeaway from the trade deadline, though, and hopefully people understand this now, you're asking who improved the most. The trade deadline used to be about buyers and sellers in terms of the good teams being buyers, bad teams being sellers. That's how it's worked like our entire lives. These last couple of years, because of the second apron, it's not about good teams and bad teams anymore. It's about expensive rosters and less expensive rosters. And almost all the trades that happened were financially motivated first and foremost, as opposed to gearing up for the playoffs. That's a little bit frustrating. I like the IO trade for Minnesota. I definitely think they got better. I like the Utah trade for Jaren Jackson Jr., but they didn't get better because they immediately shut him down with the surgery and got themselves, fined for tanking, right? So I think some of the biggest trades that were happening at the deadline that we won't really see the fruits until next season. And that's different because the trade deadline used to always be about let's sprint to these finals, but it's been a major shift here in the second apron era for the NBA.
Yeah, literally the Pacers, Wizards, and Jazz got the best players at the deadline, which is just weird to see. Things have completely flipped. Like the summer now, free agency isn't that big of a deal. It happens at the trade deadline, and that's what those losing teams were trying to make their moves for. We're talking about faith in the Eastern Conference. How do you square it? The Cavs deciding that the way to get over the hump in the playoffs is James Harden. That is a little odd, right? Like, I mean, he's kind of our biggest playoff failure of the past 15 years. He's definitely up there.
Yeah, he's definitely notorious. The funniest thing about this, though, is that, I kind of look back, and I've been a James Harden defender at times because I do feel like people pile on. You can't deny some of the playoff shortcomings. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, hey, let's give him credit for when he does play well. But one of the interesting trends of his career is he's been paired a lot with guys who haven't been able to get it done in the biggest moments when he was their teammates, right? So you go to Brooklyn, Kyrie gets injured. You're back in Houston, Chris Paul gets injured. He goes to Philly. Joel Embiid was honestly worse than Harden was in the playoff moments. You go to the Clippers. Kawhi had some no-shows and some injuries, and Paul George wasn't necessarily up to snuff, alongside James Harden. And now he goes to Cleveland, where Donovan Mitchell has never made the conference finals, right? And so, no matter where Harden goes, he's always paired with another star who also has playoff questions. And so one of them is going to be the scapegoat. I think it's going to be one of these things where they're both pointing at each other by the time it's over. No, it's Mitchell's fault. No, it's Harden's fault. But I think there could be some blame to go around there with that group because ultimately – you're seeing so many of these big wings and, big point forwards kind of driving this playoff basketball, the interchangeability aspect, the versatility aspect, and they're just built differently, right? Like they've got guards, they've got bigs. They don't really have that wing position, handled at a high level. It's going to make for some really, challenging matchup issues for that team. I like the fit though. Like I definitely think they got better. Conference finals. It's not impossible for that Cleveland team, but to me, it does kind of feel like a ticking time bomb, and not just because James is there, by the way.
When we were talking about Wemby, you said that was your preseason pick to win MVP. So like us, you make a lot of preseason predictions. Was there a team you just were completely wrong about? From one side to the other, you thought were going to be amazing and have failed, or obviously you thought were going to stink and have sort of impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, obvious kind of on both sides, but Orlando, I was pretty high on after the Bane move, and nope. Paolo is probably the number one recipient of slander across basketball Twitter this year, possibly. Not where you want to be, especially when you're a former number one pick. It's still pretty young. So I didn't necessarily see all that coming, and I'm a really big Franz guy, and it just doesn't feel like, maybe we've gotten peak Franz either, so it's not all Paolo's fault. And I do feel like Paolo takes most of the heat for that group.
Right.
I thought they were going to be really good, though. And, like 50-plus wins and sailing, and just really hasn't been the case. The other one, though, is I was all in on OKC 70+ wins. I did a big story about it when they were 24-1. I was, going through history, trying to compare them defensively to all these other teams. And, of course, you can't always predict the injury bug. And maybe I should have, because they had such a long and grueling playoffs last year. And they took last regular season really seriously, too. There wasn't a lot of nights off for them last year, but it feels like it's all really caught up with them. And doesn't that 74 win talk feel like an awful long time ago at this point, even though we're still in February? But man, I was pumping that thing as recently as November, and boy, it went poof pretty quick.
Do you have a favorite solution, Ben, to fixing tanking, which has been obviously, in the media here over the last couple of weeks, a whole lot of tanking talk, and everybody's got an idea. Do you have one where you're like, yeah, let's try that, or even a drastic one where you're like, you know what, that's so crazy, let's give it a go?
Well, I love the J.E. Skeets take on tanking. The best fix for tanking is to never talk about it. I thought that was awesome. Right. Like, that was revolutionary podcasting work, and I can't believe you're trying to run back the tanking talk, Skeets. You're violating your own principle here.
I think we're overreacting. I do, but yeah.
It was a great take. Look, I think a lot of the tanking stuff is being driven by the gambling implications, right? Like, everyone's like, what's changed last year to this year? Like, the Raptors shut down Scotty Barnes late in games, but now Utah's getting fined for doing the same thing. Well, what happened was Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier got arrested. That's what happened, right? You cannot play games late in the season with lineups. Are guys going to be in or out with not adhering to the NBA's injury reporting protocols, because it just creates too much opportunity for exposure for bad actors to get their hands on information. And then all of a sudden the NBA games are not a fair gambling exercise for everybody who's out there. They have to have the appearance of propriety here, so that the entire business machine of sports gambling goes along. And so I think that's a big factor in terms of why Adam Silver, felt the need to kind of step in here. You can't have this unusual erratic stuff with guys in and out of lineups, because it just creates a lot of problems long term. In terms of solutions for tanking, I've read them all. I think flattening the lottery odds actually kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. I would give better odds to the teams who are really bad. And then I would also consider that rule they're talking about, not allowing a team to pick in the top 4 multiple years in a row. I think they're really trying to go hard for parity. And I don't love that either. I love dynasties, that's my favorite aspect of the NBA, but they're going down this parity route very hard. And so it does kind of feel like, well, San Antonio, do they even really need Harper to be a championship contender? No. Could somebody like Utah or Washington use Harper a little bit more, and we'd flatten the talent out and everybody would benefit? I think that there's an argument there. So I think those would probably be my preferred solutions. But people get way, way too deep into this, and there's so much talk about the 10 worst teams in the league. You got a championship race right now with 10 great teams who all have a shot to some degree. And unfortunately, it's a huge distraction. So I kind of wonder, should Adam Silver take your advice here and just talk about it less, and just because he put a huge microscope on it for All-Star Weekend. It's all anybody talked about. It's like, wait a minute, this is what we've got going. Right. It just looks bad for the entire league. I don't know.
Maybe they should keep the schedule open for the last third of the season, so we can just have the Grizzlies and the Kings. You have to play each other every single night. Yeah. Somebody's going to win. And if you care about those teams, you can watch it. But the rest of us, we'll stick to our 20 teams that are going to make the postseason here. Adam Silver's changed a lot of things, Ben, in his time, from the flattening of the lottery odds to the play-in tournament. But one thing that you saw firsthand was NBA coaches started wearing basically warm-ups during the bubble and have continued to wear warm-ups. Pat Riley said he thinks people should go back to suits. Do you agree?
Well, so I don't get why media guys wear suits if they're not on television to games if the coaches are wearing sweatsuits, right?
Preach. So great question.
I've been a quarter zip guy basically my whole run. I used to wear, suits for the first game of the year, or maybe suits at the finals. But I know the quarter zip trend really took off on TikTok a couple months ago. Those guys owe me royalties. Okay, I've been doing quarter zips way before they thought it was cool. And actually, I was doing quarter zips when it wasn't cool.
Right.
It even has.
Become, I remember that.
Even if it has become cool. So keep it together, Trey. Now,
you're looking good in your quarter zip. I'm Golliver inspired today as well.
Yeah, you look wonderful. I think the coaches could step it up. I love Pat Riley's old school philosophy. And I agree with him that often, leaders look great. I think that's a part of the deal. You want to command respect. And sometimes you see these coaches come out now pregame too, before they even get into the official group, and they're wearing like super baggy sweatsuits. I mean, they could just be like a guy, in the 300 level. And I'm looking around saying, there's only 30 of these jobs. Is this really what it's come to? But I know they crunch a lot of tape, not a lot of sleep, so they probably feel good just being in the sweatsuits all day long. But I think it would be better for the league if they all go back to suits, don't you?
Oh, 100%. It's hard to imagine like a Mark Daignault statue of him squinting wearing his zipped up Thunder. Pat Riley looked very cool in his statue. So they got to change it back for sure.
And think about it. I mean, if you're an NBA coach, you're getting like a budget for your clothing, right? It's probably a pretty healthy budget. Why not use it? That feels like, if you guys got budgets, so you could wear a different suit every single day on the show, you're telling me you're not down at some, haberdashery downtown Atlanta trying to get a nice full look. I mean, you're definitely there, right? So it just feels like a wasted opportunity all around.
Yeah. We're calling a G League game tonight. We haven't talked amongst ourselves yet, but
all quarters.
How suited and booted are we getting tonight? Or are we going
tuxedos.
casual? Yeah,
I want tuxedos, guys.
It'd be a great look.
We're talking just about head coaches, right? Because I don't think the assistant coaches are getting a budget. I'm just guessing.
Right.
But all coaches are doing different forms of matching. The San Antonio Spurs all have Air Jordan 1s on their feet from nice. Mitch Johnson, every single one. So maybe there's a budget.
Nice, Mitch.
You like that?
Well, I like the idea of the unity from the coaching staffs.
Yeah, right.
I could also see like, hey, the head coach does have to dress up. Everybody else kind of looks the same. The Lakers actually do something similar. I noticed the Celtics did something similar too. I don't know if they were all matching sneakers as well, but it was, a very uniform look. I like the togetherness. It sets a good tone. It also kind of helps the assistant coaches stay in the background if you're watching on TV, right? Because it's just sort of like one like monochromatic look there from the bench. But think about how many times they cut to the solo shots of the head coach during a game, arguing a review call, talking to the point guard, yelling out defensive coverages. You don't want them in that, Pat Riley Armani for those moments. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, even like the more heated they get, they're getting pissed with the officials. Like, a tie can get unloosened, a jacket can come off. Like, what can you do with the quarter zip? Just unzip it a little bit more. Like,
game's getting tight.
That's
try to take it off because you'll look super awkward.
Yeah, it doesn't come off easy. That's for sure.
I also love the idea of coaches go back to suits, but it's only the head coach. Say it's Kenny Atkinson, he gets tossed from the game. He's got to hand his jacket down to the guy who steps up for the last quarter of the game or whatever.
It's
very
like
cool.
The quarter zip or like this casual attire that they wear. It's like got to be one or the other is my point. I think it's like either go suits, like Pat Riley saying, go back to that, the very professional looking suit, or go all the way the other way, like a baseball manager. And like Bickerstaff has to be in a jersey, like his team, like a baseball manager in the dugout. You have to wear the team outfit, don't you?
Yeah,
they can't wear
they're in
anything
jackets
else.
In general. Like they cover their
but
jersey.
They're wearing a uniform
and pants. Yeah. You got to have your cleats on so you can go kick some dirt out on the umpire.
I want the NBA coaches then in full outfit with all these City Edition jerseys, Ben. That's the only other option we can do.
It sounds great. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, is there anybody else? Like, how far do we take it? Do you want staff members? There's trainers, there's security guards. I mean, how coordinated and how deep down the bench should the outfit looks be going if they're really trying to maximize interest here?
Hey, concession stands. I want everybody in the same outfit for sure. One other thing before we let you go, because this is sort of like one of your beats, and that is the Olympics. As I addressed, you've been to a couple of them. Kevin Durant yesterday said he plans to play in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. 2028, one of those years that sounds like 40 years away to me still, but 2 years it'll be here. What was your reaction to KD? He had a lot more to say too. I'm sure you read that, Ben, but his thoughts on wanting to play again. Are you surprised at all?
Well, watching him in the Olympics, he saved the team in Tokyo and didn't really get as much credit for that because it wasn't as talked about. There was no fans and it was sort of like a bubble Olympics, but man, was he good during that Tokyo run. His commitment to that program has been incredible for a really long time. I saw that he said he wanted to earn the spot. And he wanted to still be playing at a high level. I think he still is, individually this year. I mean, Houston's been a little disappointing, but he's still definitely been a high level player, an easy all-star selection. So I think that he has a really good case just as a pure basketball player to make it. But I also feel like if anybody was going to be deserving of the honorary old guy gets a spot on the roster, it's Kevin Durant based on what he's done. And you look at some of these young players who may or may not want to play on USA Basketball. They had a problem, attracting players there for a while. I think, having him there as the standard of a guy who was fully committed as what it could be, as cool of an experience as it can be to have these guys involved. You could be like Kevin Durant is the message to somebody like Cooper Flagg, come and represent your country 4, 5, 6 times, because we could use you. I think it's a great message. So I would be saving him a spot no matter what. You're not going to win or lose the gold medal based on if Kevin Durant's on the roster, and nobody's earned it more than he has.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's our best Olympic player ever, probably the best Olympic basketball player, period, and will fit on any team. So assuming he's still good at 40, which I assume he will be, sign him up. But I do love the two things this guy loves are playing basketball and being on Twitter. And he's not on Twitter very much right now, but he is playing basketball, and I hope he's there for Team USA. I wonder if he would be like their flag bearer. I know LeBron was the guy in Paris. You would think it would be a big name here in LA, so I wonder.
No, it's a real dichotomy, Trey. It's like, the Twitter version hasn't been super cool lately, but the USA Basketball version is the coolest version of Kevin Durant by far, and it's going to get left out of all the retrospectives, but it should.
I thought this was perfectly timed here by Kevin Durant with all of the Twitter burner accounts and all the talk around that for him to come out and suddenly start talking about the 2028 Olympics and I didn't say I wasn't playing. LeBron's not playing. Curry's probably not playing, but I didn't say I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot more to say, and we can get into that later this week.
Yeah. And firing all of Boardroom's employees, all those employees.
Too. Yes. Yes.
That's kind of getting swept under the rug.
Before we let you go, Ben, any new hot new Lego sets dropping that we should be aware of?
I took it back even further, guys, this Christmas. I didn't go Lego. I feel like not that Lego's done, not that Lego's become too mainstream, none of that. But I wanted to go a little weirder, so I bought myself a model train, old school. Now, here's the thing with the model trains. And actually, you'll be proud because it's a Canadian Pacific model train.
Oh,
and
nice.
I got all these different, I'm hauling lumber, I'm hauling coal. I'm going across that great Canadian bounty.
You paying tariffs
right
on
around
those?
my Christmas tree. Well, I'll tell you what, model train's not a cheap hobby. I will
No,
say
it's
that.
not.
The attention to detail on model trains are incredible. And it's funny because they're one of these hobbies where they're like, we should probably update for the 21st century. So we're going to come in with Bluetooth activity and you can run it from your phone. And as soon as they started saying that to me at the store, I was like, no, I'm going the other way. I want the lowest tech one. I have this giant handheld thing that looks like it could run like a spacecraft.
Yep.
I could go to Mars. That's how I control it. I got the lights button. I got a horn. I mean, it's just awesome. I even got myself a hat. I
was just going to ask you that. No way.
Yeah. Like I said, man, hey, quarter zip and a train conductor hat. What more do you need? This is the peak of fashion. Okay. But my grandpa had one and, back to some more basement talk, but he used to run around his basement and it just brought back some good memories of childhood Christmases going to see theirs. And it's so personalizable, right? There's so many different options. You can make it exactly how you want it, which is pretty fun too. And so I was inspired to get the Canadian Pacific train actually, because I went up to near Banff, Morant's Curve. It's a famous Canadian landmark. They got it on the Canadian currency. And they have a train kind of going around Morant's Curve on Canada's money. I stood right at that spot, waited for a train to come, took a picture, just the same as the Canadian currency. And then I found that train online, and that's my model train. So sorry to Lego. I'm cheating on you briefly. Yeah, it's a little fling here, but highly recommend it. So if you're a real dork listening to this, I mean a tier 1 dork, you've been in on this entire episode, you were cool with the magnet talk, you weren't lost, you were just locked in, go for the model train if you don't have one. That's my recommendation.
What scale and gauge are we talking?
Oh, I'm a home man. Oh man, HO. HO. Now they have lots of different gauges, but it is fun to tell people you're a home man.
Perfect way to end this interview. Ben Golliver, train home man. Ben, appreciate you jumping on very early your time there on the West Coast. That link to your new Substack in the show notes. Everybody go click and subscribe. And look, let's have you back now that you're basically unemployed. You can just come on any day now, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be up tomorrow morning, whether you guys have me. I'll be talking into this screen. But hey, in all seriousness, I am known for the greatest ability is availability, one of my slogans, and nobody embodies that better than you guys do. My respect level for your consistency is just off the charts. I hope nobody takes it for granted how long you guys have been doing this at a high level. Braun gets all this love for 41 and all this. Give me a break. Come on. It's about these three guys right here. And JD. Don't let me forget JD.
Yes, JD.
As a home man, he knows that somebody's got to make the trains run on time.
That's right. Ben, appreciate you as always, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Hit the like button, subscribe for Ben Golliver if you haven't already. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, pick 'em, whoa boy, all the staples here on No Dunks. Ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. I heard Toronto in June is beautiful. That'd be a nice trip, wouldn't it? NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the NBA championship or a conference title. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, that was fantastic. Hour or so there with Ben Golliver. So not much else to say about last night. We can touch on maybe the Rockets game when we get to Whoa Boy, which is where we're at right now. And it's sponsored, Whoa Boy, by No Dunks fam, Bram Liu, probably. Bram or Bram, either, I'm not sure.
Bram Liu, I'd say.
Bram Liu. His sister Olivia just graduated high school. Your big bro and your family are so unbelievably proud of you. And we're excited to see the next chapter of your life. So there you go. That's your Whoa Boy sponsor. And it goes to Jabari Smith Jr. Scored a game-high 31 points in the Rockets' blowout win over the Jazz. Smith Jr. shot 12 of 17 from the field, 6 of 11 from deep, 9 boards, 3 steals, 3 blocks in 33 minutes. I mean, Wemby had a great game, filled the box score, but Jabari Smith Jr. coming through there. Really gross moment in this game, or unfortunate moment. Vince Williams Jr., another junior in this one, appeared to have suffered a major injury after getting sort of bumped, cleared out by Tari Eason as they were coming up the floor. We're not showing you the clip because I don't know if you saw it. I was getting a little queasy.
He left the arena on crutches, which is a better sign than what could have been a worse scenario.
I just know your leg is not supposed to bend that way. Yeah. Tari Eason apparently did seek him out, or the team out immediately. Like it was like, I mean, it seemed accidental. I don't think he was trying to hurt the guy.
He wasn't trying to hurt him. He was trying to knock him off his line, for sure.
Which happens in every NBA
an
game.
Unnecessary play, but not a dirty play. I didn't think there's also like a moment you can see Keontae George come up and start chatting with Tari Eason, and just from Eason's reaction, you can tell that George is relaying the info like this guy is seriously hurt and really bad timing. For Vince Williams Jr., I think he's got a team option for next year. This seems to be like it'll be a serious injury. So hopefully he's able to recover and still make some money going forward.
Because he was part of that deal and getting traded from Memphis. They wanted him. Yeah. And it sort of made sense to be put around Keontae George, Larry Markin, and Jaren Jackson Jr. So hopefully he does get back.
Yeah. It's if you're easily queasy, do not watch that clip. One of those where the leg just goes the way you don't want to see it go. People are comparing it to remember when Giannis had that crazy injury in the finals and came back and somehow played miraculously
in the Eastern Conference Finals.
It sort of bends similarly. So maybe hopefully it's good like that, but that does not look good. That feels like he could be done for the season, but we'll find out. Tonight's Pick'em task, where are we going?
Yeah, we got a good Tuesday night in the NBA. We got 11 games. And so I saw a couple of goodies. Knicks, Cavs. Well, I'll skip that one. Washington, Hawks. Are we going to see Trae Young play the Hawks for the first time? No, that's not happening. He's out. So I went with just one close to home. The Toronto Raptors hosting OKC. Tough pick because OKC definitely looks good coming out of the All-Star break without Shea and without Jalen Williams. Here, the Raptors are getting Scotty Barnes back. Didn't have him in his first game, but he will be here. Is he rusty? Has he not played in long enough? Well, I'm fine taking him just to give us a bit of a race here because you guys are both at 6-6. I'm at 7-5. We got 4 nights remaining. So
nice race, though.
If you guys take this one, we're all tied up with 3 nights left.
Exciting.
That'll be fun. Raptors favorites here. Little surprised. I mean, it's basically a pick 'em, but I was a little shocked by that.
Yeah. Hopefully Cheddar Cheese plays. Yes. He's the only one that's like, really, will he actually play tonight to me? Because, Caruso likely out, AJ Mitchell out, Shea out, Jalen Williams out.
Does he go by Cheddar Cheese?
I've heard of like 3 people call him Cheddar Cheese.
I
They usually call him Abe Lincoln,
Right.
Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I went
Classic.
OKC because the Raptors have struggled against good teams this year, but then this is a weird one because all the main guys are not playing for OKC, but they still are a good team, as we just saw in the win against the Cavs. So it's tough here, and I think the Spurs are in Toronto tomorrow night, I want to say. And then I think OKC might have a big game coming up. It could be a trap game, is maybe you're looking at it like that. But
Yeah, the doubleheader
Raps are good
on
too.
Peacock tonight is Knicks Cavs and Wolves Blazers. And I do want to say, as Ben mentioned, not as big a game with the Peacock cast with Grady, Hummel, and Austin Rivers, but I thought they were really solid last night. And Austin Rivers making jokes like our man Ben Golliver was making. He said when somebody was getting handsy, getting physical, he said, well, usually you got to go on a couple dates before you get all handsy.
He did say
Some
that.
good ones, pushing the boundaries. He's pushing the boundaries a little bit, commenting on the bling behind him
That
in
was
the
funny.
crowd. Well done. I thought
He
he was
calls a
good.
game like he's on a podcast.
yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
He's talking
The
about Jalen Duran's shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a nice in comparison for me. Like Hummel's a very serious analyst, So I like the difference.
I just like how they were into the game. They're like, this is
Absolutely, yeah,
awesome.
that's
We're
why
the
they
best
were
seats
good.
in the
That
house
was an
here.
awesome
All
game.
three of us here.
More importantly than the style was, they're just bringing it.
Yeah.
Really.
Some news in one of the games tonight, Pelicans guard DeJounte Murray is set to return.
Hey.
Spending more than a year rehabilitating a ruptured right Achilles tendon. So he's supposed to be back for the Pels tonight. So that's something to watch in that one a little bit later on. But yeah, OKC, Raps, me and Trey have the Thunder. You have the Raps. That's right. I already said it when we were talking to Ben. We do have a College Park Skyhawks game tonight. It's at 7 o'clock in College Park, Gateway Center. Come on out if you're in the area. Cheap tickets, great time. I mean, it's fun basketball with these guys competing, and the Raptors are good. Skyhawks have had a bit of a down year, but they do score a lot of points. So we'll see how many Ray J. Dennis can go for tonight. Asa Newell's going to play, I think, for the Skyhawks tonight. So sort of good timing for us coming back or being reassigned to the G League team from the main Hawks team. So 7 o'clock tonight. That link I also shared in the show notes for you to watch it online and hear us on the broadcast. So check that out at 7 o'clock tonight. Otherwise, back tomorrow. Huge thanks to Ben Golliver for jumping on and talking to us this morning. Till then, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you don't want to watch 11 NBA games, you can watch a G League game that we will be on. Also, I wanted to give some credit for the Magnate. That great nickname was brought to us by Full Metal HT on the stream team. So I wanted to shout that out.
He sponsored Woboy once. Maybe twice.
Yeah, I think it was good.
He does it all. Appreciate you guys. Brace the day, people.